All right, we want to bring in our political experts tonight. We have former Republican Congressman Doug Osee and Democratic strategist Jonathan Harris. And Doug, we're going to start with you tonight. Many people, of course, remember you running for governor in the recall election, and you suffered a heart attack.
Just didn't have my heart into it. That's the way it is.
Well, you certainly have your sense of humor. You haven't lost that. How are you doing? How are you feeling now?
I'm fine. I'm fine. It's just life goes on. You know, every day's a gift. So.
Any takeaways from the experience in that recall election?
Politics is very intense.
That is for sure. That is for sure.
All right, let's get to Jonathan now. With Republican momentum clear and the reversal of Roe, how concerned are you for same-sex marriage and other movements Democrats have championed?
Well, that's kind of what a lot of the election tonight is about. It's about essentially the rights on the ballot. There are a lot of people who are vulnerable to what the Republicans are proposing. The Republicans clearly are wanting to come after a woman's autonomy over her own body, voting rights, parents' ability to make decisions for their children in terms of their gender identity and things along those lines. So there's a lot on the line here tonight, and it's worrying. I mean, there's definitely not been a red wave tonight. I know Republicans were hoping for that. I think it was Senator Lindsey Graham tonight said that as well. There was definitely not a red wave tonight. But just the idea of Republicans gaining any degree of control is concerning when they've made it so clear that what they want to do is come after the rights of so many vulnerable communities. So that's definitely a little bit concerning. It's nice to know that President Biden holds the veto pen, but still a bit concerning.
Doug, jump in here. You had a little bit of a reaction hearing him. What do you got to say?
So I actually, Jonathan's providing a very clear, defining moment for us here. Most of the people I'm talking to in the grocery stores or out in my regular business is, you know, I can't afford to pay for what we're paying for gas, and I can't. I mean, I used to sell eggs. One of my businesses was eggs. Well, when I sold them 2.5 years ago, it was $3 a dozen. Go to the grocery store now, they're $5 a dozen. So we can talk about all these half of 1% issues and what have you, but everybody has to eat. Everybody has to have gas for their car. So until we address those issues, we're not going to solve, or we're not going to be able to move forward as a country.
Let's dive into another aspect that we are watching closely, and that is the young vote. Jonathan, we know Democrats want and need young people to turn out to vote in a big way. What is motivating this particular block of voters, and why do you think so many are actually choosing to sit this process out?
Well, I think a lot of young people are focusing on the 1%. That was a very interesting way to frame people's rights. 1%, those issues that he referred to. I think a lot of young people are concerned about that, and I think some of the at least preliminary voting showed that young people have been coming out, and they're a crucial base for the Democrats. I think they are looking at particularly women's autonomy over their bodies. I think Republicans have sought to frame this as some kind of religious or moral issue, whereas I think Democrats have been a little bit more clear that this is about the reality of, children, rape victims being forced to give birth to their rapist child, and women who are facing health concerns, potentially even deadly health concerns, being forced to face that instead of make a decision for their own health with their own bodies. It's fascinating to me, too, though, that Republicans, for a party that claims that they want limited government, which you've seen quite a bit this year especially, is Republicans wanting government to be involved, wanting government to interfere in what parents decide for their children in terms of their gender identity, wanting government to interfere in what a woman does with their body, wanting government to interfere in a series of issues. And it's interesting to me that they sought to make this about inflation and prices going up. Inflation is up all over the world. All over the world. It's actually much lower here compared to other nations like ours. And to talk about the rise in prices without framing it properly, which is that this is as a result of the pandemic. And when you talk about gas prices, the result of oil companies saying very clearly that they're raising oil prices for profits, I think is just a dishonest way to frame that.
All right, we're dealing with about 40 different topics
Yeah,
over the course of about 2 minutes here, but let's talk to Doug a little bit. Go ahead and respond to some of what he has to say.
First of all, nobody cares whether the oil companies are making a lot of money. What they care about is how much am I paying for a gallon of gas? You know, the regular person, they don't own shares in Chevron like Jonathan might or some of his colleagues. It just doesn't. They just want to know, I can't afford to pay $5 for gas, but that's what we're doing now. And when Biden's team took over, it was $2.50 a gallon. Now it's not. Same with food. So again, I mean, I have to chuckle, Jonathan. You're making me chuckle here. Your misrepresentation about what the vast majority of Republicans want. What we want is to be left alone and be able to afford to take our families out to dinner or on vacation, where gas is $2.50 a gallon instead of $5. Where a steak's $10 instead of $20, where a dozen eggs is $3 instead of $6. And the fact of the matter is, over the last 2 years, none of that has been attainable, and the Democrats own all of the policies that have contributed to it.
Well,
you mentioned Biden. You neglect to mention that when Biden took over, the economy was collapsing, which it is not now. But okay.
All right. Well, we certainly love a healthy debate here at CBS 13.
There are just so many passionate topics to talk about, and we can't go through all of them and go back and forth on each of them. But you guys have made points on each of your sides, and we do appreciate the conversation.